vixens, and victims. You'll find them all in the house that dripped blood.
As I am thoroughly into these Amicus movies, of course after Asylum I started to delve into more of these things. The House That Dripped Blood is another one that's getting a same release date on Blu-ray from Second Sight Films as Asylum, and I wasn't sure if I'd seen this one before. I read a quick synopsis, didn't really matter, I was watching the movie anyway, threw it on, and this one is all about a house, a home. And what I like best about this is probably something that was done out of necessity. The house isn't a big grandiose gothic horror, top of some terrifyingly spooky hill kind of house. This just seems like a kind of average house that has had some sort of terrifying history to it. You know, the kind of house that you could possibly see yourself living in, moving into just out of necessity almost. You know, it's not like a house that you can imagine only the rich or elaborate people staying in, which made it a little bit more spooky in my mind. Now the Rat Brown story here, out of a lot of the Amicus movies that I've seen, it's probably one of the weaker storylines. It revolves around a policeman who is investigating a crime that has happened at that house, and he starts to delve into the history of the house, and somehow through the police files comes across these stories of terrifying horror that has happened within this house. That's the loose, and I do mean very loose, connective tissue. Unlike Asylum, which was really well constructed altogether, it's a loose little thing, just so we can get flung straight into the stories at the start. The first story we are given is a couple that are renting this house, and we have a kind of author who's looking for inspiration, trying to get away from the big city so that he can sit down and come up with his next creeping masterpiece. And he discovers a picture in the house, and it's one of those pictures that just opens up his imagination. He envisages this person as a stalking strangler, haunting at night and just picking on innocent victims to, you know, kill in brutal fashion. And as this episode goes on, he tells his wife about the character and about how it's infecting his life, and then he starts to see his imaginative character around the place, at the window, down the street, hears his giggle, sees him in rooms of his house as it starts to psychologically take on to his soul.
Is it?
Oh, Charles.
No, please.
And I really quite enjoyed this one because you get a very minimal amount of characters here, but you get a nice idea of the story, and not everything is pushed onto you straight away. You're not given too much information after the fact. You get a little bit of exposition as to why things have happened, but it's a nice little concise tale, spooky. It has a kind of ghostly element to it at the start as this thing starts to appear, but it's very psychological. Of course, it has a twist, this one, but I'll leave you to discover that. Next up is a rather strange one. It's about a guy, again, on a break. He's living in this town, in this house that happens to drip blood, but never actually drips blood throughout the movie. And he becomes obsessed with a waxwork at this local waxwork museum. It reminds him of somebody, it reminds him of his love that he lost. And when his friend comes to stay, they end up back there again, and both of these guys become just captivated with this waxwork. And to tell you a little bit more would probably ruin it. It's one of the more on the noses ones, doesn't hold too many surprises. It's just an interesting little take on this kind of story, and it delivers again. Then we get to the third story with Christopher Lee, who's always good as an extremely strict parent within this house with his daughter, who he keeps on a very tight leash, and they get a kind of au pair, someone in to help look after him when he's doing things. And he's trying to keep his daughter under wraps because he's worried that she may turn out like her mother. And we don't get told what her mother was, but through the idea of what happens, you get a fine understanding.
Where are they? You must search the house, but you must find that doll.
Again, really nice twist and twisted ending to this that I really rather enjoyed. This one was one that I didn't know where it was going, but I enjoyed where it went. And then we get the last story, which is a kind of fun one that's not very overly serious. It's a comedic note. It's about an actor who is working on a low-budget horror movie. He's arrogant, he's brash, he thinks he is everything and the most interesting and essential component of this movie, further from the truth it could possibly be. He wants to get into the character of this vampire and goes and buys a cape. And when he puts the cape on, he discovers that he has a lust for blood, he has fangs, and the ability to take on other vampire traits. It's interesting, it's kind of quirky and fun. It doesn't really fit in tone with the other three stories, but it's still fun. These kind of horror tales worked. I think Amicus made, was it 6 or 7 of these things? And they are really punchy and really fun. And I think it's the standards that they go for, the fact that the stories just trim every single bit of fat out of them and they're all kind of punchy and to the point. And on the rare occasion that you may get one that you're not really too fond of, it's over rather quickly and you're on to the next segment, which is different enough from the last one that it's probably going to be a better movie for you, or a better segment to it. I think these things are just marvellously put together. I love the production standards, the actors that are in them, and like I said, I haven't found one of these movies with even a segment that I haven't enjoyed as yet. The disc on this one is outstanding yet again. A great transfer, very much along the lines of Asylum. Now, I hadn't seen this movie before, but I've got to imagine the transfer was pretty clean. It was free of debris, it had a nice little bit of noise in it, it looked good. It was a kind of transfer that I kind of hope for when you hear these things are getting the Blu-ray treatment.
In this house, terror waits for you in every room.
You get 2 audio commentaries on this as well. You get one which involved the director and the author of the stories. The second one is from a film historian, which is really quite interesting as well. You get a just under 10-minute interview with Mike Higgins, who was the second assistant director, I believe, in the movie, and he just has some nice tales. I could have done with this one being a little bit longer because I was enjoying the conversation. I could have done with more, which is always a good sign. You get a 17.5-minute A-rated horror film, which is a great addition as well. You get a trailer, you get the Amicus radio spots, which are a really nice addition. I kind of like these things back to when advertising movies on radio and the kind of booming voice and atmosphere that they create just in these little spots. And of course, a stills gallery as well. Again, I like this movie, not as much as Asylum, but I still think it's a really good pickup and something that's worth checking out if you're into this era of filmmaking or if you like horror anthologies at all. I would love to know what you thought of this movie. Let me know in the comment box below, and I'll see you next time on Man vs. Film.
This house is full of sounds. The loudest is your heart pounding in the night. The softest is the sound of terror.